The girl on the blue 10-speed bike cuts across the parking lot, weaving between cars and shopping carts as the heat of an early summer afternoon rises from the asphalt. Her dark hair is pulled back, her t-shirt already damp with sweat, but she's smiling. She's 12, old enough that a quick ride across the street to the mall feels like freedom instead of a risk. Behind her, the brick buildings of the Bashford Manor apartments sit quiet. Ahead of her, the glass front of Bashford Manor Mall glows with fluorescent light, promising air conditioning and an hour or two away from home. This is the last confirmed sighting of Anne Gottlieb. It's June in Louisville, Kentucky, humid and bright. Bashford Manor Mall is busy. Families move in and out through the main doors. Teenagers crowd the arcade. Cars loop through the lot, drivers hunting for a space close to the entrance. Anne rides up near Bacon's department store, where she usually leaves her bike. She doesn't have much money, just enough for a drink, and maybe a small treat. Her plan is simple. Walk the mall, cool off, be home by dinner. Her mom is expecting her back in a couple of hours. There's no sense of danger as she disappears through the doors, swallowed by the crowds and the hum of fluorescent lights. From this point on, the record breaks apart into fragments. Witnesses remember a slim girl with dark hair, but details blur. Some say they saw her near the food court. Others think they spotted her near the arcade. Maybe she stopped to look at clothes or pressed her face to the glass at the pet store. In a place like this, one kid can vanish into the background before anyone realizes it. When Anne doesn't come home on time, it doesn't feel like an emergency at first. Maybe she lost track of time. Maybe a friend's parent gave her a ride. As the evening light begins to fade and the heat finally starts to fall, worry takes over. Her mother calls friends and neighbors, asking if anyone has seen Anne. No one has. The call to police comes that night. A missing 12-year-old girl, last seen on her bike heading toward Bashford Manor Mall. Officers respond, and what begins as a routine check quickly turns into something else. Anne's bike is found near Bacon's, leaned against a wall like she has just stepped away. There's no sign of a struggle, no abandoned bag, no shoe left behind. Just the bike she rode away on, and the fact that she never came back. Searches start immediately. Officers and volunteers sweep through the mall, the parking lot, and the surrounding blocks. They check loading docks, stairwells, service hallways, dumpsters. Store employees are questioned. Security guards try to recall anything unusual from that shift. Did anyone see a man watching the kids at the arcade? Did anyone see a girl being led out a side door? If they did, the memory isn't sharp enough to help. It's the early 80s. There are no security cameras covering every entrance, no instant alerts flashing across television screens and highway signs. Flyers are printed with Anne's school photo, her serious eyes and careful hair becoming the face people see on telephone poles and in convenience stores. Her parents appear on the news, voices unsteady but firm, begging for whoever has their daughter to let her go. Days pass, then weeks. Tips pour in, most of them thin or contradictory. Someone thinks they saw Anne in another part of town. Someone else insists they saw her get into a car with an older man. Every lead is checked. None of them hold. Back at the apartment, the phone rings constantly. Each time her parents brace themselves, hoping for news that never seems to come. Inside the police department, her file grows thicker. Interviews, search logs, maps of the area, notes from detectives who take turns leading the case pile up over the years. They never close it. Every new detective assigned to missing persons or the cold case unit learns her name. As time passes, attention narrows onto a man whose name makes investigators tense. Gregory Oakley, Jr., a former veterinarian with a criminal history that includes crimes against children. While he is in custody for other offenses, he talks too much. To fellow inmates, he brags or hints about crimes that were never solved. One of those inmates remembers him mentioning a girl taken from a mall. Details that sound too close to Anne's case to be coincidence. Detectives dig into Oakley's life. They interview his former girlfriend, who repeats things he told her that make their skin crawl. She describes comments about hurting girls, about knowing where bodies are. None of it is a direct confession about Anne, but the pieces start to line up in a way the detectives can't ignore. They search properties connected to him, looking for anything that might tie him to Anne's disappearance. Clothing, personal items, buried remains. They find nothing they can definitively match to her. There are no fingerprints from that day that point to him, no fibers or lab results they can take to a prosecutor and say, "This is it." What they have are words, patterns, and a man with the right history in the right place at the right time. Within the department, the working theory takes shape. If anyone knows exactly what happened to Anne Gottlieb, it is probably Gregory Oakley. But a theory is not a conviction. Anne's parents never get the kind of certainty a courtroom verdict can give. All they know is that detectives keep coming back to the same name, and that the man they suspect is as unreachable as their missing daughter. Oakley dies, and with him goes any realistic chance of a confession. There is no moment where he sits across from a detective and finally tells them where to look. There is no guided search of some remote field or wooded area, no recovery that allows a family to bury their child. Anne remains officially missing. The world around the case changes. Bashford Manor Mall declines, then is torn down and redeveloped. The physical space where Anne was last seen alive is erased and rebuilt as something else. Missing persons tools evolve. DNA databases grow. National systems for child abduction alerts are created. For the people who loved Anne, the story is still stuck on that single afternoon. Her mother remembers watching the clock and feeling the first knot of fear when Anne was late. Friends remember her as a quiet, bright girl who liked to ride her bike and hang out at the mall like every other kid in the neighborhood. In their minds, she never ages. The girl on the bike is always 12, always pedaling toward the entrance with the belief that she'll be back in time for dinner. From time to time, cold case detectives still open her file. A new tip comes in, someone who was a teenager then, suddenly remembering something that seemed unimportant at the time. Someone else wonders if a relative who made disturbing comments years ago could have been involved. Most calls lead nowhere, but they are answered, because there is always the chance that one of them will finally point to the truth. There is no scene at the end of this story where everything is finally explained. No sudden knock on a door, no hidden journal, no discovery that ties every loose thread together. What remains is a bike left standing against a wall, a mall full of people who didn't realize what they were seeing, and a family whose lives split into two parts: the years before Anne rode across the street and all the years after. Somewhere in Louisville, people who once shopped at Bashford Manor Mall can still picture that parking lot and remember the day they first heard that a 12-year-old girl who went there on her bike never came home. Thank you for listening to The Lantern's Tale. Subscribe for more true stories, if you dare.